Good morning, and thank you all for joining us today. During my first State of the City address last month, I said my administration is working to create a safe, equitable, and prosperous Rochester by inspiring hope and delivering opportunity for everyone. Safe, equitable, and prosperous is the destination. Hope and opportunity are the path. The budget I am presenting to the Rochester City Council today is the map, a detailed guide that will take our city from a poverty mindset to a prosperity mindset. I am proud of this budget, and I am proud of the team that helped me put it together, especially our Office of Management and Budget, under the leadership of Director Mike Burns, who will provide a more detailed description of his spending plan in a few moments. I want to thank Mike and his team for once again drafting a budget that is prudent with its use of taxpayer resources while bold with its objectives to lift Rochester to the upper echelon of American cities. I also want to thank my senior management team and the men and women of the city workforce whose diligence and commitment to service make the calculations and tallies with this document possible. Our thanks also go to our partners in government, City Council President Miguel A. Melendez and all the members of Rochester City Council, whose oversight of the city finances confirms this administration's careful stewardship of precious resources. Finally, and most importantly, I am eternally grateful to the citizens of Rochester for entrusting us with those resources to provide the services they deserve. I am proud of this budget because it reflects the hopes and dreams of our citizens and strikes a realistic balance between the financial hardships of our citizens while also making critical investments that confront historic challenges with historic opportunities. For the second year in a row, the City of Rochester budget holds the tax levy flat and does not raise user fees on refuse, recycling, or public works. Overall, this spending plan calls for about $675 million in spending, which is a 4.7% increase that is well under the rate of inflation. Among my deepest concerns reflected in this budget is the unavoidable and all too clear need for investments in our water infrastructure. The massive water main break that prompted a boil water advisory coupled with a snowstorm last year was a wake-up call. Communities across the nation are suffering the consequences of deferring maintenance on their aging and crumbling infrastructure, putting the health of their citizens at risk, and I am determined that Rochester will not join them. The cost of those investments will require us to raise our water rate to less than $3 a month. This budget also continues the transformative investments enabled by our allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act and the tremendous support of state funding from Governor Kathy Hochul. I am always happy to reiterate my deep gratitude to our congressional delegation in Washington, Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Congressman Joe Morelli, as well as our state delegation in Albany for advocating for Rochester in delivering those dollars. And let me add that transformational is not limited to traditional infrastructure projects like Rock the Riverway and their interloop. It includes our tree expansion and beautification program to close the tree disparity gap by adding 6,000 street trees to our urban forest. We're going to add 1,000 more trees this year. And I'm grateful for the support of this effort by Senator Schumer, who will provide funding for this program through the Inflation Reduction Act. He was just here on Monday saying that Rochester will be first in the line to get those dollars. The budget also reflects the valuable and much appreciated feedback provided by our residents and stakeholders. At the start of this budget process, we shifted the timetable for our community input process 3 months earlier to give us time to properly evaluate that feedback and disseminate it among our senior managers so that they could incorporate those viewpoints into their departmental budgets. We held a similar round of input sessions to craft the agenda for our ARPA allocation. And our commitment to listening to our residents and stakeholders is by no means limited to those sessions. From the commissions and advisory boards that help shape our strategies and initiatives to the public meetings we hold in advance of major projects to my Mayor on the Block sessions. We are always taking the pulse of the community, and the insight we gain from those interactions has informed this budget. Just like last year, the 2023-24 operating budget proposal is crafted on a framework of 6 key priorities, what I call our North Stars, which keep us focused on our long-term objectives, our path of hope and opportunity to the destinations of a safe, equitable, and prosperous as we deal with the daily challenges of managing a city government. But I also want to make clear that these priorities do not exist in silos. The programs or initiatives under one priority benefit the others. The relationship between public safety, economic development, and youth development are crystallized by our expansion of the Summer of Opportunity and Summer Youth Enrichment Program is a perfect example of that. And when you combine those programs with the children's resources we provide at our library branches, they also demonstrate how our youth are focusing our priorities through the lens of youth. Our North Stars are our constellations of opportunities that keep us moving in a single direction, and that direction is forward. One thing I am especially proud of in this budget is how we respond to those daily concerns while also keeping our focus on the path ahead. Instead of letting the day-to-day demands become distractions that halt progress, we approach them as learning opportunities to develop long-term solutions that show up in this budget today. This is the true embodiment of the adage that crisis and opportunity are two sides of the same coin. Two clear examples of how we're doing that can be found in our public safety and strengthening neighborhood priorities, where we are creating two critically important positions to take the opportunities we spotted in the past year to the next level of long-term sustainable change. The Director of Emergency Management and Manager of Emerging Initiatives. The Director of Emergency Management will help strengthen the coordination among different departments during an emergency response. We saw the benefits and opportunities of this coordination in March during a historic 5-alarm fire on Otis Street, where our PIC team and code enforcement officers provided immediate support during the evacuation of more than 20 neighboring homes. Let me just say this. This one position, I hope, is never fully tested beyond the preventative measures that come with it, sort of like an insurance policy. The Manager of Emerging Initiatives title, however, is one job I'm really looking forward to seeing come to fruition. The person in this title will take those daily challenges I spoke of, often those unexpected challenges that point to a larger or deeper systemic concern, and turn them into long-term opportunities by making sure the services we deliver align with them. Those alignments require a whole new initiative or just a simple tweak to an existing program. This will include the cannabis industry, all that cannabis preparation, homelessness reduction, access to healthy foods, our opioid settlements, and many others. As I have often said, public safety remains our #1 priority, and that is clearly reflected in this budget. If you don't have safety, both real and perceived, you cannot have anything else. This budget continues and builds upon the programs and initiatives we developed last year under our 3-part strategy: prevention, intervention, and suppression. The Guaranteed Basic Income Pilot Program is a good example of how we're advancing our economic empowerment and equity, inclusion, and social justice priorities, as are the continued investments in our by-the-block and lead water service line replacement programs. Our economic empowerment initiatives goes beyond creating jobs. We're enabling economic mobility and generational wealth with the expansion of our Office of Financial Empowerment. And we're leading by example with the city workforce by converting 33 part-time jobs to full-time to give these employees financial stability beyond a paycheck. Our strengthening neighborhoods priorities include added investments that offer a clear illustration of what happens when you listen to your customers. If there's one thing I hear on almost every Mayor on the Block visit, it's that our residents and merchants want their neighborhoods to look clean and well cared for, and that's what they deserve. So we're adding 3 full-time code enforcement inspectors to bring a heightened focus to exterior property codes that protects the visual appeal of our streetscape. Just like we're going after negligent landlords to reduce blighted houses and buildings, we're also going to go after private property owners who turn a blind eye to litter, trash, and debris that accumulate on their vacant parcels and empty parking lots. And our customers also want cleaner parks and playgrounds, so we're adding 4 full-time and 6 seasonal positions to our Park Operations Bureau to step up our maintenance efforts for these critical community assets. The investments and initiatives I'm proposing today are putting meaning behind the message of inspiring hope, and delivering opportunity. President Barack Obama said, "Hope is not blind optimism. Hope is the belief that destiny will not be written for us, but by us, by the men and women who are not content to settle for the world as it is, who have the courage to remake the world as it should be." I am proud of this budget because it provides a first draft of that destiny, a destiny written not by me, but by we, the people of Rochester. And now I'd like to ask OMB Director Mike Burns to come forward and provide a more detailed presentation of the proposed City of Rochester fiscal year 2023-24 operating budget, and then I will offer some closing remarks. Mr. Budget Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning to each of you, and thank you for joining us. Before I provide an overview of our 2023-24 proposed budget, I'd like to start by thanking the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and my senior management team colleagues for their work in forming this budget. In working with this highly respected team for over a year, I've come to appreciate the talent, expertise, and collaborative spirit that each member brings to our administration, as together we serve the residents of our great city. As the Mayor just said, it's not me, it's we. And not only do my SMT colleagues embody that mantra, so too does my team in the Office of Management and Budget. I'd like to extend my genuine appreciation to our Assistant Director, Suzanne Warren, our Principal Staff Assistants, Sarah Boyce and Christina Heigenthaler, and our team of analysts, Chevette Lewis, Emily Lohner, Joe Mistico, and Josephus Tisdale, for their dedicated and tenacious work in developing this budget. I'd also like to thank Elisa Sobrani in our print shop for her invaluable work in supporting the production of this budget. With today's release of our 2023-24 proposed budget, we are marking the launch of our online budget book using OpenGov. When you visit our budget homepage at www.cityofrochester.gov/budget, you will find online content explaining how to access our proposed budget and capital improvement program. Bringing our budget into the 21st century would not be possible without the outstanding work of the OMB team that I just mentioned, or as I like to think of them, the best team in City Hall. So now on to the numbers. Our 2023-24 proposed budget calls for $674.7 million in spending, an increase of $30.5 million or 4.7% over our amended 2022-23 budget. To provide context around this increase, it includes a $3.7 million increase in ARPA-funded expenditures from our amended 2022-23 budget. As the Mayor just discussed, and as illustrated in more detail throughout the Mayor's message accompanying our online budget, this budget funds several critical investments across all 6 priority areas of the administration. As the Mayor just mentioned, our 2023-24 proposed budget contains no increase in the property tax levy. Consistent with our 2022-23 budget, we once again elected to hold the property tax levy flat this year as we acknowledge the continued impact of higher than usual rates of inflation and fuel prices impacting our city households. In the coming months, we will undertake our comprehensive process to evaluate assessed valuations of residential and business properties located in the city compared with current market data. This process occurs once every 4 years, and its impact, if any, will be reflected in the city's budget for our fiscal year 2024-25. Rochester remains one of the strongest real estate markets in the country. While we are not increasing the property tax levy, our annual state-mandated tax shift calculation impacts the proportion of property taxes that will be borne by our homeowners and businesses. As a result of applying this prescribed calculation, the typical homeowner will see an increase of $70.32 or $5.86 per month on their tax bill. The typical business will see a reduction of $534.52 when they receive their tax bill. Also included on the tax bills of both homeowners and businesses are user fees associated with refuse or trash collection, local works, snow removal on sidewalks and roads, and water. With regard to these, refuse and local works user fees for the typical homeowner will not increase, while user fees associated with water will increase $33.40 or $2.78 per month for the typical homeowner. This increase in user fees for water is the first such increase since fiscal 2019-2020, and it is needed to ensure the financial stability of our water fund, which will allow us to deliver the high-quality water and operational infrastructure that our community has come to expect. Our 2023-24 proposed budget includes $197.5 million in sales tax revenue, an increase of 5.5% over the $187.2 million in our amended 2022-23 budget. Our budgeted sales tax revenue aligns with our current sales tax receipts and factors in a modest growth rate going forward. As we know, the city has benefited from higher than usual rates of growth driven by inflation and, as a result, increased prices that come along with that. The city has a long-standing tradition of financial stewardship practices, and bolstered by the continued strength of sales tax revenue I just mentioned, we expect that when the books are closed on the 2022-23 fiscal year, we will generate a surplus. This will allow us to replenish a significant portion of the fund balance used to close the budget gap in our 2022-23 budget, and will also allow us to use $25.1 million in general fund balance to close the budget gap for our fiscal 2023-24 fiscal year, all while remaining well above the fund balance requirement levels of 12.5% of general fund expenditures as prescribed in city policy. We began our 2023-24 proposed budget development process with a $62 million all-funds budget gap, per the multi-year projection shown in our 2022-23 budget book. We fully closed this gap, and as I mentioned earlier, we're able to fund investments in all of the administration's key priority areas. Fully closing the budget gap starts with the multi-year projection and involves several adjustments throughout the budget development process, including the use of fund balance that I just mentioned, accounting for the positive impact of revenue from sales tax and interest earnings, use of ARPA revenue replacement funds to help close a projected parking fund deficit and fund estimated increases for ARPA-funded capital projects, reducing current year cash capital and debt service while still funding essential projects, and considering changes in personnel-related costs and costs associated with fringe benefits and other liabilities. Further information on how we closed our all-funds gap is presented in the summary of all funds gap closure schedule immediately following the mayor's message in our online budget book. Our 2023-24 proposed budget reflects a net increase of 31 full-time positions, or a 1.1% increase over the 2022-23 budget. Most notably, this budget funds the conversion of 33 less than full-time positions to permanent full-time, providing viable career paths for these city employees and contributing to the financial stability of each of them and their families. The city continues to benefit greatly from the $202.1 million in American Rescue Plan Act funding received from the federal government. Examples of ARPA-funded initiatives include lead service line replacements, both inside the home and from outside of the home to the street, many of which impact our most economically disadvantaged neighborhoods, workforce development and entrepreneur training for youth and adults across the trades and small businesses, much-needed technology upgrades for our resident-facing technology systems, and community contracts for the newly established Rochester Peace Collective. More information about how we are using these funds, which must be expended by December 31st, 2026, can be found on our website at www.cityofrochester.gov/ARPA. Looking ahead, between now and the middle of June, City Council will hold public hearings on the proposed budget on May 24th, 25th, and 26th, and Council will vote on the proposed budget at its June 20th meeting. The hearings and the June Council meeting can be viewed on WXXI and streamed at youtube.com/Rochester City Council, and they can also be attended in person. With that, I will now turn it back over to Mayor Evans. Mayor?
Thank you, Mike, and again, thank you all for being here. I know Mike will provide any detail or color that you may have at the conclusion of this press conference. Again, I just want to thank the team for all their work in terms of putting this budget together. I want to thank City Council, led by Council President Miguel Melendez, for their input on this budget, and we look forward to all the sessions that will be coming. The last point I'll make is that, you know, it's often said that a budget is a statement of priorities, and we may have our challenges in our city, but we've tried to find opportunities to create hope by making sure that we embed them in this budget, and I think that the ultimate beneficiaries of that will be those that are our constituents, our citizens in the city of Rochester. So we look forward to discussing the budget further and want to thank everyone for coming today for the budget session. Thank you.